Hey guys, what's up? I'm Erin and welcome back to the channel. What does it take to feel financially healthy? Well, according to a new survey by Personal Capital, it takes a solid income as well as solid savings to back you up. In fact, the number one thing that helped people feel secure was having a good income. 44% of Americans said the key to financial health was having a solid income. Before we go further, what income do you think it takes to feel financially healthy? Put your answer in the comments down below. And as always, you can go back and edit it and change your mind later. But I just want to see what you guys think that income would look like. Because when they asked each generation what that income was for financial health, every generation had a different answer. And these answers varied by quite a bit. Gen Z, with the oldest group member currently coming in at 25 years old, said that they needed an average salary of $172,000 to feel financially healthy. When I see that, my first reaction is, wow, times have changed. That is such a crazy high number. Now, let me be clear here first. Whatever anyone's goals are, whatever their ambitions are, I am in your corner and I hope you achieve every single one of them. I am not here to rain on anyone's parade. But to say that you need a salary of $172,000 a year or $14,000 a month in order to feel financially healthy, that's crazy. That is such a high number. I think the threshold for financial health should be so much lower than that. I remember in my early 20s, my salary was about $50,000 a year, and I thought I had made it. I thought that was an incredible income. You bet your bottom dollar that I was very financially healthy on a $50,000 a year income. Now, granted, where you live does play a factor, but the threshold for financial health really should be lower than that, even in a major city. Granted, I did live in a small town, but honestly, I would take my small little beach town over a New York City high-rise any day of the week. I am not a city girl. To me, having that mental threshold of financial health be set at $172,000 a year kind of shows a lack of awareness of what life really costs. Yes, life is expensive, but it's not that expensive. I mean, the average salary in San Francisco, a notoriously very expensive city, comes in at $104,000 a year, which kind of shows how out of step this financial health metric is with reality. Having a salary of $172,000 a year puts you in the top 6% of all Americans. I personally believe that you should be able to find financial health at a much lower number. And I personally wonder how much of this number is influenced by social media. The average Gen Z member spends 3 hours per day on social media. As we all know, social media is a highlight reel. People are watching other people take lavish vacations, drive fancy cars, and quite frankly, just buy things all the time. It can set a pretty unrealistic expectation. Interestingly enough, while the income needed to feel healthy was high for these Gen Z members, they said on average that they only needed $105,000 in savings to feel financially healthy. Now, perhaps I should be careful of where I use the word only, because having $105,000 saved up is certainly nothing to scoff at. But it does shine light on the fact that this generation is putting a greater emphasis on earnings than they are on actual savings. And part of that could be attributed to age. At such a young age, you're not expected to have that much saved up comparative to your income. Let's be clear though, having $105,000 saved up at 25 would be absolutely phenomenal. That shows a great deal of discipline and hard work and puts you in the absolute upper echelons of your generation. Of course it does. But wealth and savings, those are something that are traditionally built over time. So maybe they're looking at it the perspective of, I'm very young at this point, so I shouldn't have that much saved up comparative to my income. When it comes to millennials, those aged 26 to 41, the average household income they say is necessary to feel financially secure is $134,000. Now that still is a pretty hefty number, even if it is 24% less than the previous generation. It's worth mentioning that the median household income in America is just over $75,000 a year. Most survey respondents cited the rising costs from inflation and predominantly surging housing costs as to why income needs are so high. And it is true that housing is taking up a greater percentage of people's pay, so maybe they do need a higher income in order to feel like they can meet those everyday expenses. I always remember the story of my grandpa coming home from World War II and buying his first home, the home he owned until the day he passed away, a nice duplex for $1,000 cash. And yes, while inflation is real, it would be impossible to find a livable home for $16,000 today, which is what that $1,000 would be worth. Today, the median home sale price in the US is over $440,000. So yes, housing costs have absolutely changed. And when it comes to savings, millennials say they need $350,000 in order to feel financially secure. Now, millennials are going to have a greater number of working and savings years under their belt, so it makes sense that their savings and investment goals are higher than Gen Z. But it is worth noting that having a net worth of $350,000 puts you in the top 72% of all Americans. In fact, it puts you in the top 93% of all millennials. So these do appear to be somewhat lofty aspirations, not unachievable by any means. And hey, I love people with absolutely lofty aspirations when it comes to savings goals. But in direct juxtaposition to saying they have such a high need for savings in order to simply feel financially healthy, 55% of millennial survey respondents said that they were spending more on vacations every single year than they were actually contributing to their investments, which really makes you wonder where people's priorities lie. Now, I don't think there should be any shame around spending. You should spend on things that you enjoy, spend on things that bring fulfillment to your life. But with that being said, if your vacation fund is eclipsing your investment fund, your priorities might be out of whack. Perhaps it helps to think about saving for your future and your retirement as preparing for the longest vacation you will ever take. And you don't want to come up short when it comes to that vacation. So I think prioritizing today's vacation, a week-long stay at the beach, is a little bit of a misdirect. Sure, enjoy vacations in the here and in the now. Of course, that's important, but still make sure a greater percentage of your pay goes to those investment accounts. When it comes to Gen X, those age 42 to 57, the average household salary necessary to feel financially healthy is $112,000. That's called the tempering of expectations. With more working years under your belt and the wisdom that comes with having faced the actual cost of living for several decades, you start to get a more realistic number on what it takes to be financially healthy. It is worth noting that this still is significantly higher than what the average household income is in America. Yeah, making more money is great, but it's what you do with your earnings that makes the real difference. Regardless of the number on your paycheck, avoiding high interest debt and saving a meaningful percentage of your income can put you in a better spot in the long run. There's that old saying, it's not what you make, it's what you keep. Yes, a larger income is nice, but if you focus on living within your means, or even better, living below your means, you can feel financially healthy at practically any income level, within reason, of course. So a lot of this really just comes down to managing your finances appropriately. Gen X says the average savings they need to feel financially healthy is $567,000. As we age, we start to see this inverse relationship between income needs and savings and investment needs arise. But it makes sense because as you get older, your savings and investments become more important. They are what is going to allow you to one day step away from the workforce and into retirement. It is worth noting that having a net worth of this level does put you in the top 20% in this age bracket. And that could help to explain why only 34% of Gen X members say that they feel financially healthy. With inflation running so high, many in this generation are saying that saving enough for retirement is becoming a major concern. They're fearing that their money won't go as far. Stocks can be a secret weapon because they offer you one of the best chances to mitigate the impact of inflation. And in the long run, you're positioned to beat it several times over. And finally, baby boomers, those aged 58 to 76, say they need a household income of $78,000 to feel financially healthy. And while this number is roughly in line with the average median household in America, so it does paint a more realistic picture, this demographic represents many who are retired or are near retirement. As it currently stands, baby boomers currently only make up 1/3 of the workforce, and those that are still working are probably in their peak earning years as they have decades of experience under their belt. And once they step away from the workforce, many people experience a significant decline in income because they don't have their savings and investments built up to the point where it can match their current income level. So most people do experience a decline in income when they step into retirement. But what your income needs are in retirement really depends on the lifestyle you want to live. To that effect, the average baby boomer says they need $765,000 in investments to feel financially healthy. Now, I know if you are in this age bracket and watching this channel, your investments far and away surpass this, because it seems like those who are doing incredibly well financially speaking are the ones who are watching financial videos here on YouTube. They've done the work, they've saved, they've invested, and they put in the years necessary to build wealth. But the reality is that the vast majority of baby boomers do experience a decline in standard of living once they reach their retirement years. The typical retiree experiences a decline in income of 30%. That can make your golden years harder than they should be. The average annual income from Social Security is about $20,000. And if you've been successful at saving that cited $765,000, that would provide you an additional income of $30,600 if you use the rule of 4%. If you're more aggressive and use 5%, that would give you a little bit over $38,000. Combine that with Social Security and you would have an annual income of $50,000 to $58,000 a year. Perhaps that makes for a good retirement. Perhaps it doesn't. It really depends on one's personal circumstances, as finance is incredibly personal. Based on these numbers, most generations have fairly unrealistic income expectations. Now, as I said, I am not trying to be a Debbie Downer. I want people to win. I want people to be successful. I will be their loudest cheerleader because I think we should encourage and support one another. But with that said, I think mentally having such a high threshold for financial health can really set you up for disappointment. We do see salary expectations get tempered with time and maturity, so part of the equation could simply be having lofty aspirations and lofty dreams when you're young, and there's nothing wrong with that. I want people to feel like they are winning with their finances because money has a mental component to it. If you are setting the bar so high and then you miss that bar, you can make it so you feel like a failure. Because how many 24-year-olds have a monthly income of $14,000? Not many. To that end, how many 30-year-olds have a monthly income of $11,000? Again, not many. But if this is where you're putting your threshold, I think you're setting yourself up for failure, or at the very least, a letdown. If you control your living expenses, if you live within your means, if you make $5,000 a month, but your expenses are only $3,000, you will feel financially healthy. If you are spending $10,000 a month, but you're only making $8,000 a month, you will never feel financially healthy. A huge component to this feeling healthy financial puzzle is managing your expenses, living within your means. What do you guys think? Share your thoughts in the comments down below. I post new videos every single week. If you got anything at all out of this one, please give it a like. If you're new here, please consider subscribing, or if you know of someone who might get something out of this type of content, please consider sharing. I hope you have a great day. I'll see you soon. Bye. Financially healthy. Don't like saying according multiple times in a row. Pretty good income? Up, I'm Erin, and welcome. That's insane. Guys, I've been stabbed by a pitchfork. That's how country I am. Yep, went right through my foot. We were feeding the cows. Is certainly enough to, because at such a young age, it's rather, nope, is certainly enough, enough. Is putting a grinder, rather than, the sun. The lighting is gonna be all screwed up in this one. Oh well, to be clear. Oh, How I use the word only. I truly feel like I think the bar shows a lack of a mental threshold of financial real. People are still is pretty, most survey respond, So it makes sense that, stumbled on my own words, that having a savings, their belts. So it makes sense that their savings, lost my voice, people's priorities lie. I don't know, below your means of expectations. Working years under your belt, I don't like this at all. Hey, should go towards your investments over vacation. Necessary for, it's built up to inverse relationship between, as we age, we start to see retirement might not,